Cindy from Stamped with Aloha. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a box for the Via Pumpkin Spice Latte drink mix. I'll be showing you both a version using the Hello Pumpkin September 2020 paper pumpkin kit, as well as one that uses the Harvest Hello stamp set. So let's get started. Okay, to make our box, we're going to start with a piece of cardstock that's been cut at 6 inches by 7 3/4 inches. This piece here is cinnamon cider. On the 7 1/4 side, I'm going to score it twice. I'm going to score it at the 1/2 inch point, and then I'm going to score it again at 7 1/4 inches. Then I'm going to turn it, so now it's lined up at the 6 inch mark, and I'm going to score it 4 times. I'm going to score it at a 1/2 inch. I'm going to score it at 2 3/4 inches. I'm going to score it at 3 1/4 inches. And then one last time at 5 1/2 inches. All right, the next step is going to be to use a punch. So I'm going to use a 1 1/2 circle punch. And on one of those sides, I'm going to just punch a little nip, like that. The next step will be to cut the cardstock. So I'm going to turn it sideways, and along the edge here, I'm going to cut from the outside. I'm going to cut all the way straight up to the first horizontal scored line. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to cut a diagonal at each one of those places. Then I'm going to repeat the same thing on the opposite side. Okay, now that it's been cut, we're ready to add our adhesive. I'm going to be using the Stampin' Seal Plus. So I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to put Stampin' Seal Plus on each of these little flaps on both sides. So now that I have the adhesive on there, I can begin to assemble my box. So I'm going to start with the bottom half, the half that doesn't have the little cutout on it. And I'm going to start by just folding in the flap. And then I'm going to pull up the sides and just line it up and stick it together. Now for the top of the box, I'm going to fold it in, then I'm going to turn it sideways. I'm going to tuck in the edge, and then I'm going to fold over the flap. And I'm going to do that on both sides. Tuck it in, fold it down. Okay, so this is our completed box. All right, so now we're ready to decorate the top. So for this box, I'm going to show you how we're going to decorate it using these pieces that came from the September 2020 Hello Pumpkin paper pumpkin kit. All right, so let me move these out of the way. The first thing that we're going to use is a piece of Whisper White cardstock. Now this cardstock has been cut at 1 by 5 1/2 inches. I'm going to flip it over, add some Stampin' Seal to the back, and I'm going to glue it to a piece of the brass foil. This brass foil is been cut at 1 1/4 by 5 3/4. Then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to glue it onto a piece of 1 1/2 by 6 inch Cajun Craze. Okay, so now on here, we're going to start with these 2 pieces that came from the paper pumpkin kit. Now I'm going to adhere this with glue dots. So I'm going to just grab a couple of glue dots and put it on the back of this piece. And I'm going to stick one on this side. And then I'm going to stick one on the opposite side. Okay, The next thing that we're gonna do is adhere our pumpkins. So I'm gonna flip this over. I'm gonna add some Stampin' Seal. And then I'm gonna mount this right here in the center. Make sure that you can see that. All right, then the next thing that we'll do is we're going to add these little pumpkins here. So for this one, I'm gonna add a glue dot. And then for this one here, I'm gonna add a dimensional. Okay. Now we wanna stamp a sentiment on this little flag here. So I'm gonna get my memento pad. And then from the stamp set that came in the Hello Pumpkin paper pumpkin kit, there is a stamp that says Hello Pumpkin. Okay, so now I have the words Hello Pumpkin, and then I'm gonna take my scissors and I'm gonna cut them in half. And then I'll take a glue dot, and I'll take the first word here that says hello, and I'm gonna just stick that on the left side in the center, stick that down, and then I'll take this one that says pumpkin, I'll add a glue dot, and then I'll just slide this under there so that you can see it. And there you go. So we have our little flag. And then we'll flip this over, we'll add our dimensionals to the back. And then we're gonna place this right here on the top of our box, okay? And then when you open this up, this is just the perfect size for the Via Pumpkin Spice Latte. And then we can close this like that, and there is our box. So I wanted to show you another version of this, just in case you are not a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, but you wanted another pumpkin design that you could put on a box like this. So for that one, I have the box already made. I made this box the same exact way out of crumb cake. And for the top of this, we're going to be using a piece of the Gilded Autumn Specialty Designer Series paper. This piece here has been cut at 1 by 5.5. I'm gonna flip this over. So I've mounted this onto cinnamon cider cardstock, and the cinnamon cider cardstock is 1 1/4 by 5 3/4. So then I'm going to mount this onto a piece of brass foil, and this is 1 3/4 by 6 1/4. Okay, so now we have that on there, and now we're ready to add our pumpkins. So the way that we're gonna make our pumpkins is we have a piece of pumpkin pie cardstock, how appropriate, and then here's the Harvest Hello stamp set, and we're going to be using the pumpkin and the words Hey There Pumpkin and this leaf here. Of course, the Harvest Hello stamp set has a coordinating punch. This is the Apple Builder punch. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to be using my black pad, and I'm going to stamp 2 of the pumpkin shapes. Okay. And then I'm going to take and use my Apple Builder punch to punch those out. So now we have these cute little pumpkins. So I'm gonna mix in the cute fruit stamp set, of course. This is my favorite stamp, which is this cute little face. And then I'm going to go ahead and add that to the center of my pumpkins. Then using a Stampin' Blends marker, this is dark Flirty Flamingo, I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna add some rosy cheeks. Next step is to do the little top of our pumpkins. So I'm gonna grab a scrap of early espresso cardstock, and then I'm just going to punch out one of the leaves. And then I'm gonna take my paper snips and I'm gonna just cut this in half. Then using a glue dot, I'm going to stick that onto the back. And we'll do that for one leaf, will work for 2 pumpkins. Okay, perfect. All right, so then the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna stamp some of the leaves. And so let me get my black ink again. So I'm gonna stamp this leaf here, and I will stamp this 3 times. Then I'm going to color this with the Old Olive Stampin' Blends. So we'll just color this in. After I've colored all 3, I'm going to use my paper snips. I'm gonna cut off the stem, and I'm going to fussy cut all around the edges like this. And by the magic of stamping, when that's done, you will end up with 3 leaves that look like that, okay? So for these, I'm going to just add them onto the pumpkin. So I'm gonna put one of these kind of going off to the right side. And then on the second one, I'm going to have this kind of going off on the left side like that. So they just complement each other like that. All right, we're almost ready to put these on, but I'm gonna show you how we're gonna do the words next. So I'm gonna grab a scrap piece of very vanilla cardstock. So I have my scrap paper here. I'm gonna have my black ink pad again. So then I'm gonna grab the sentiment, "Hey there, pumpkin," and I'm going to stamp that on a scrap piece of paper. And then using my paper snips, I'm going to cut this out. So I'm gonna cut straight on the top of the words. I'm gonna cut down like this. And I'm gonna try to cut as close as I can. So cut them out first into a little rectangle. And then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna cut them in half. So we have the "hey there." And then for the pumpkin here, I'm just gonna trim that up a little bit on each side. Okay, so now we have our little cutout words. Now we are ready to assemble this, okay? So we will take this and I'm gonna add our dimensionals. I'm gonna flip this piece over and add this to the top of the box. Then I'm gonna add some dimensionals to the back of the pumpkin. And I'm gonna have one going in this direction. Add a couple of dimensionals on the back of this pumpkin. And then I'm gonna overlap them so that one's going in that direction like so. And then I'm gonna take the words "hey there" and I'm going to add a couple of glue dots. And then I'm gonna have the "hey there" coming on this side like that. And then the pumpkin, I'm gonna have that coming over here on this side like this. And then I'm gonna finish this up with that final leaf. I'm gonna just tuck that underneath there like that and stick that down. And there you go. And as you can see, this again fits our pumpkin spice latte. So if you're a paper pumpkin subscriber, you have this version up here that you can use with the scraps. And if you're not a paper pumpkin subscriber, you can still make a really fun pumpkin treat by using the Harvest Hello stamp set and combine it with a cute fruit so you can make cute little pumpkins to go with your pumpkin spice latte drink. So my pumpkin spice latte boxes are done. I want to say a special thanks to demonstrator Zenny Lucy for helping me with the dimensions on this box. I hope that you enjoyed learning how to make this project, and now you have a fun way that you can bless somebody with a pumpkin spice latte drink during the fall season. Well, I look forward to stamping with you again soon, so be sure to come back and check out my next video. Until then,